Have you ever felt like there's always more time, like tomorrow will wait for you no matter what you do today? This story is about one simple moment that changed everything. A quiet conversation, a powerful realization, and a truth about time that most people understand only when it's almost too late. Listen closely, this story might change how you see every minute of your life. So let's dive in. The first thing people noticed about Daniel was how relaxed he always seemed. Not calm in a peaceful way, but relaxed in a careless way, like someone who believed there would always be another chance tomorrow. He walked slowly, spoke slowly, and lived as if time were an endless road stretching far beyond the horizon. Mornings arrived without urgency. Afternoons slipped by unnoticed. Nights ended with promises he never truly intended to keep. Daniel often told himself that life was meant to be enjoyed, not rushed. He believed pressure was something weak people felt. Strong people, he thought, could afford to wait. Dreams could wait. Goals could wait. Even relationships could wait. After all, there was always more time. He worked at a small office downtown, a place filled with flickering lights and the quiet hum of tired computers. His job was easy enough. It paid the bills and required just enough effort to keep his boss satisfied. Daniel never stayed late. He never arrived early. He did exactly what was required and nothing more. When co-workers talked about improving skills or moving forward, he smiled politely and changed the subject. Ambition, to him, felt exhausting. After work, Daniel usually stopped by the same cafe. He sat at the same table, scrolling endlessly on his phone, watching other people hurry past the window. Sometimes he laughed at how serious everyone looked. They all seemed to be chasing something invisible, something that made them rush and worry. He felt proud that he wasn't like them. At home, his apartment was quiet and dim. Unfinished books rested on shelves. Half-written ideas slept inside notebooks. Musical instruments gathered dust in corners. Each item represented something Daniel once felt excited about. Each one waited patiently for a future version of him who never quite arrived. Every now and then, a small voice inside his mind whispered that something was wrong. It reminded him of dreams he once spoke about with fire in his eyes. It asked uncomfortable questions about wasted days and empty evenings. Daniel silenced that voice easily. He told himself there was no rush. Life wasn't a race. Everything changed on an ordinary afternoon that didn't feel important at first. Daniel had left work early, claiming he felt tired. He walked through the park near his apartment, headphones in, music low. The sun hung gently above the trees, casting long shadows across the path. People passed him without notice. Parents walked with children. Joggers moved with determination. Elderly couples strolled hand in hand. Near a bench by the old fountain sat a man Daniel had seen before. He was older, with silver hair and a posture that suggested both strength and weariness. He often wore the same brown jacket, no matter the weather. That day, the man was staring at the water, his expression thoughtful, almost heavy. Daniel walked past him, then stopped. Something about the man's stillness felt different. As if time itself slowed around him. "A nice day," Daniel said casually. The man turned and smiled, a gentle smile that carried both warmth and sadness. "It is," he replied. "Days like this used to feel endless." Daniel chuckled. "Still are, right?" The man studied Daniel carefully, as though measuring the weight of his words. "They feel endless when you believe you own them. he said softly. Daniel shrugged and sat on the bench beside him. He didn't know why. Normally, he avoided conversations with strangers. But something about the man's voice held him there. They talked about simple things at first. The weather, the park, the changing city. Then the man asked a question that seemed harmless on the surface. What do you do with your time? Daniel laughed. Whatever I want. Work, relax, enjoy life. The man nodded slowly. And what do you want your life to become? Daniel opened his mouth, then paused. The answer didn't come as easily as he expected. I haven't really thought about it, he said honestly. There's time. The man's smile faded, replaced by a look Daniel couldn't quite understand. That belief, the man said quietly, is the most expensive mistake I ever made. Daniel turned to face him. What do you mean? The man leaned back, eyes fixed on the sky. I spent most of my life believing time was patient. I believed tomorrow was guaranteed. I believed I could delay what mattered and still somehow arrive at the life I wanted. He paused, breathing slowly. I told myself I would start later. I would fix things later. I would chase dreams later. And later kept moving. Daniel felt a strange tightness in his chest. What happened? He asked. The man turned to him again. Life didn't wait. He spoke about opportunities that came quietly and left loudly. About people he loved who asked for time he never gave. About talents he ignored until they faded. About mornings that became memories before he noticed them passing. Time, the man said, doesn't shout when it leaves. It whispers. Daniel listened, his phone forgotten in his pocket. I woke up one day, the man continued, and realized I had lived most of my life on pause. I was always preparing to live instead of living. The word settled deep inside Daniel, stirring something uncomfortable. But you still have time now, Daniel said, trying to sound reassuring. The man smiled again, but this time it was softer. Enough to understand the value of it. Not enough to change everything. Silence filled the space between them. The fountain's water moved steadily, never stopping, never slowing. Before Daniel could respond, the man stood up. Remember this, he said. Time is the only thing you spend without seeing it leave your hands. Spend it carefully. Then he walked away, disappearing into the flow of people. Daniel sat there long after the man was gone. That night, sleep didn't come easily. Daniel lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation again and again. Thoughts he had avoided for years surfaced without permission. He remembered how excited he once felt about learning new things. How deeply he once cared about becoming better. How often he had said tomorrow instead of today. The next morning, Daniel arrived at work earlier than usual. The office felt different, quieter, as if it were waiting. He sat at his desk and stared at the screen, but instead of drifting into routine, he felt restless. Time felt louder now. Throughout the day, Daniel noticed moments he had always ignored. The way coworkers rushed because they cared. The way deadlines existed not to punish, but to move life forward. The way effort created momentum after work. He skipped the cafe and went straight home. He opened drawers he hadn't touched in years. He found old notebooks filled with ideas, unfinished sentences, hopeful thoughts. Reading them felt like meeting a younger version of himself who still believed. For the first time, Daniel felt grief for time already gone. But beneath that grief was something else, responsibility. He realized something simple and terrifying. No one had stolen his time. He had given it away freely, day after day, without asking what it was worth. Days passed, and Daniel began making small changes. Not dramatic ones. Honest ones. He started waking earlier, not because he had to, but because mornings felt precious now. He focused more at work, not for praise, but for pride. He spent evenings learning instead of scrolling, practicing instead of postponing. It wasn't easy. The old habits fought back. Comfort whispered that there was no need to rush. Fear warned him of failure. Doubt questioned whether change was too late, but each time he hesitated, Daniel remembered the man at the park. He remembered the way regret sounded in his voice. Slowly, Daniel's days filled with intention. He began to feel tired in a good way. The kind of tired that comes from effort, not emptiness. Weeks passed, and something unexpected happened. Life began to respond. Opportunities appeared where laziness once lived. Conversations deepened where distraction once ruled. Confidence grew where hesitation had stood for years. Daniel wasn't suddenly successful. He wasn't magically transformed. But he was awake. One evening, he returned to the park, hoping to see the man again. The bench was empty. The fountain flowed as always. Daniel sat down and smiled quietly. He finally understood. Time was never endless. It was always generous, but never forgiving. It rewarded attention and punished neglect. It didn't care about intentions, only actions. Daniel stood up and walked forward, not slowly, not rushed, but aware that every moment mattered, aware that life wasn't waiting, aware that the value of time was the value of life itself. And if you're listening to this story right now, remember this. The moment you're in will never come back. What you choose to do with it will shape everything that follows. I share stories like this every day. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.